All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Could or should a city secede from America? How far are you willing to go to change a broken nation? Author Bourhis' novel Revolt, the Secession of Mill Valley asks us all this question. He also asks an even more important question. Can we change a broken nation? His protagonist, Sean Cogan, answers these by daring a small town to walk away from the United States of America in this fast-paced, well-balanced, ripped from the headlines and thought-provoking novel. Sean Cogan, a charming, independent, political malcontent, is convinced that America has become irrevocably mired in big money, greed, and power grabs, and is certain that now is the time to revolt against the destruction of this once great country. Like many across this country, Sean Cogan has simply had enough. A corrupt financial systems, politicians bought and paid for by major corporations, our laws applied against the have-nots, and excessive taxes stolen from the people to pay for the political pork are as un-American as you can get and mocks the founding principles upon which this once great country was built. At least that's how Cogan and his fellow Mill Valley residents see it. And Cogan plans to do something about it now. Believing that no matter who is president, and regardless of political affiliation, we are no longer a country of the people, by the people, for the people. He believes that we have become a nation held in a vice grip by powerful Wall Street interests and corrupt multinational corporations. He thinks most people are too ambivalent, too distracted, and too afraid to do anything about it. Joining me now is the author of Revolt, the Secession of Mill Valley, Mr. Ray Bourhis. Ray, welcome to the X Zone. Great having you with us, and congratulations on a very timely, important book, Revolt.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Rob. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
You know, Ray, you and I were talking briefly before we went to air. I'm from Montreal. In 1970, we had the October crisis when the Front de Libération du Québec wanted to push the Canadian government into allowing Quebec to separate. They did this by, first of all, kidnapping James Cross. The one of the British High Commissioners in Montreal from his home in Westmount. And then they even went so far as to kidnap one of the members of the Bourhis government, Pierre Laporte, who was number 2 in the party, and they ended up killing him. Now the government under Pierre Elliott Trudeau enacted the War Measures Act. The army was on the streets of Montreal. Police could arrest without warrant and detain without charge. But here we are in the year 2014. Quebec is still part of Canada. Today they're having a provincial election in which the Premier of Quebec, Pauline Marois, says that if she gets reelected, she will do what she can to have Quebec separate from Canada. So here we are looking at what is happening in North America, and then when we cross the Great Pond, we see what happened in Crimea. What's going on, in your opinion?
Well, I should start by saying that it certainly is not my intention that my book, which is a political satire, is kind of a Woody Allen story about what if. But it's not a call to arms. It certainly is not a suggestion of any kind of violence or kidnapping or any
Definitely.
business. It's pretty funny. Everybody that seems to be evaluating it has given me high grades, 4 and 5 stars, which I'm very happy to see, so that people get it. That being said, truth is stranger than fiction, and I think political humor probably is more powerful than in many ways than political punditry. So the idea is, and I would point to the most recent example of this is, I've forgotten the guy's name, but there's a surgeon in Egypt who was profiled on 60 Minutes recently, who is taking on a military dictatorship with humor, and it's devastating, much more powerful than if he were just being, standing up on a soapbox. So, we all remember Sarah Palin's, Tina Fey's rendition of Sarah Palin, on and on and on. Saturday Night Live has been doing this for many years. So the hope is that that kind of humor that pokes fun at the things that are going on is going to resonate as much and have as much of an impact, perhaps, as what has happened when people have been embarrassed in public office by sexual escapades of one kind or another and been run out of office as a result of that. Perhaps most recently, in New York State. So
now, Ray, we've got to take a 2-minute commercial break. Please stand by. X-Zone Nation, Ray Bourhis is our special guest. His website is raybourhisauthor.com, and the name of his book is Revolt, the Secession of Mill Valley. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with Ray Bourhis as we continue here in the X-Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell. Don't go away. With each new extreme weather event or terrorist act, it becomes increasingly obvious that we live in uncertain and challenging times. We all buy car insurance. Why not collapse and catastrophe insurance? Matthew Stein, an MIT-trained engineer and green builder, has written 2 outstanding books to help people prepare, plan for, and deal with everything from minor situations lasting a few days to full-on collapse. Matt's first book, When Technology Fails, is a manual for self-reliance, sustainable living, and surviving the long emergency. This massive book covers the gamut from first aid and emergency preparedness to alternative healing, renewable energy, primitive living skills, and 18th century technologies that could be critical to your comfort and survival in a long-lasting crisis. Matt's second book, When Disaster Strikes, is a comprehensive emergency preparedness handbook and survival guide. When Disaster Strikes is an essential item for every family's go bag. Both books are available at all usual sources. There's a wealth of totally free information posted at whentechfails.com, and author-signed copies may be purchased at mattstein.com. That's www.whentechfails.com and www.mattstein.com. Named one of the world's greatest psychics, Elizabeth Joyce is now giving readings worldwide via Skype. Elizabeth Joyce is recognized for her clairvoyant ability to help find missing persons, her analysis of dreams, past life regression work, mediumship, and her accurate predictions. Elizabeth has been a frequent guest on the X-Zone radio show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, now for several years. For an appointment with Elizabeth Joyce, call 201-934-8986 or Skype at elizabeth.joyce. And for more information, you can always visit Elizabeth Joyce online at www.new-visions.com.
Do you have a dis-ease that you would like to alleviate through a natural means? Have you been contacted by angels, ghosts, or even extraterrestrials and want to validate these experiences? Or would you simply like to speak with someone who can help you find your life's purpose? I'm Dr. Joseph Mara, and I'm offering my services free of charge for first-time clients contacting me during the month of April. These free consultations include angel card readings, guided meditations, life coaching, and energy healing. If you have always wanted to explore these types of experiences but were skeptical or simply could not afford them, then take advantage of this free special offer. Contact me through my website, a guiding light spelled LITE.com to schedule your consultation today. Until then, I offer you love, light, and laughter.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free, 1-800-610-7035. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media networks and sites, X Zone Radio TV, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. And don't forget, you can now listen to the X Zone radio show and many of our special experts worldwide by calling in 213-401-0080, and that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year. So there we are. We've covered the entire gambit. Thanks to Corey Kay and his fine engineers at rel-mar. They figured, hey, wait a minute, there's 40% of the world that doesn't have access to the internet or access to smartphones. How can we get those people to listen to the X Zone? Well, why don't we just create a telephone platform that we're going to call Radio by Telephone? And this way here, no matter if you have a regular cell phone or regular landline, you can listen to the X Zone. Corey Kay, thanks very much, buddy. My guest this hour is Ray Bourhis. His website is www.raybourhisauthor.com. That's RayBourhisAuthor.com. And he's the author of a very timely political satire entitled Revolt, the Secession of Mill Valley. And Ray, thanks very much for joining us. And what was your inspiration for writing this book?
Well, I think it was frustration as much as it was inspiration, to tell you the truth. The problems that we're facing here have just grown and grown. The bottom line is money. And as a result of that, I mean, it cost a fortune to run for public office in the United States. If you want to run for Congress, you better have a bankroll of well over $1 million.
Wow.
If you're going to run for a higher office than that, then that's just the beginning. And that money does not come from selling Girl Scout cookies. I mean, it doesn't come from your friend next door and your neighbor that contributes, $100 to your campaign because he likes what you believe in. It comes from mega corporations, from big oil, big banks, big insurance companies, big manufacturers, big pharmaceutical companies, big everything, big lobbyists. The same thing is true for laws that are written in Washington, D.C. Gone are the days of laws being written of, by, and for the people. Laws are written by the lobbyists, of, by, and for the billionaires. And the results of this have been really unacceptable. We have got a situation, for example, where special interests write their own regulations. So the regulations say what the regulations would say if you were an oil company wanting to build a pipeline, if you were a bank wanting to safeguard your position, if you were a Wall Street corporation wanting a bailout, it would look like you wrote it. For example, insurance regulations. A perfect example. Here we have something called irreversible preemption that basically eliminates all of your rights under protective state laws and substitutes federal law, which contains no protections whatsoever, because the federal government in the U.S. is not allowed to regulate insurance pursuant to the McCarran-Ferguson Act. So you've got state laws eliminated, federal laws non-existent, and insurance companies are given a license to steal. And they can get away with it. You can be bankrupted and you can't collect a dime for your losses as a result of irreversible preemption. So that's just one example. I mean, there are so many examples. You can't pick an industry without finding an example. So that's the first problem. The second problem is it results in a dysfunctional Congress. We see what's gone on there, and most people would say that what has happened in Washington with the gridlock and what have you is totally dysfunctional and ridiculous. So that's the second problem. The third problem has to do with the Supreme Court rulings. The Supreme Court justices, of course, are selected by the politicians, and the current batch of appointees to the U.S. Supreme Court has decided